So, hi everyone, welcome to week 10, the final week of Fintech Summer Sessions. My name is Sagar, and thank you very much for joining us over the last 10 weeks. I can't believe it's the end of summer already. We're really pleased to have you all here. And just so you're aware, if you haven't heard already, we are going to be at 24 Fintech next week, and really excited about what we're going to be having over there, looking at a lot of the subjects we're covering here and developing them further. Just quickly before we start, a show of hands. So if you don't know, if you could put your hand up, if you are coming to 24 FinTech next week, if you could just put your hand up so that we know, okay, good. Got a good number coming up. Wow, okay, pretty much everyone. Oh my gosh. So yeah, you will definitely have to come visit us. We'll be at the Fintech Saudi booth. I heard we've got great coffee there. We'll have some great ice cream. So do definitely come and visit us and come meet all of us there. I'll be there. Kareem will be there. Manira, Lena will all be there. So do definitely come and visit us over there. So without further ado, we're going to start this session with Manira Al-Saba on regulations. And these last two weeks have been really important because last week we covered investment. This week we're covering regulation. These are the two biggest areas that fintech entrepreneurs struggle with or have to deal with. So it's really important that you're joining this session for just your own knowledge, or even if you're looking to start a fintech solution. Just before we start, just one word on certificates, because I know we're going to get a lot of questions on certificates. We will be releasing certificates by the third week of September. So don't worry if you haven't heard from us in a few weeks. We are super busy with 24 FinTech next week, and then give us a couple of weeks to get sorted. But by the third week of September, you will have your certificate. If you haven't, we will have a process for you to be able to apply to make sure that you get it. Don't worry about anything around that. Without further ado, I'd love it to hand it over to Manira. Manira, thank you very much again for joining us and looking forward to your session on regulations.
Thank you so much, Sagar. It's a pleasure to be here again. Fintech Summer Session has always been a great experience to meet fintech enthusiasts and to share more knowledge about fintech and the fintech ecosystem within Saudi Arabia. So it's a pleasure to be here. Let's start today. So today, as the last session, we're going to cover the fintech regulations or the regulations of fintech within the Saudi ecosystem. We're going to talk about the regulations and the financial services, who are the key regulators in Saudi Arabia, what are the testing environments for the regulators, and a general overview of the additional compliance requirements for fintechs. And then finally, we're going to open it for Q&A for anyone who has any questions about regulations, not about certificates for sure, to address it. So first, let me start by just giving a quick overview that saying that the financial services is a very heavily regulated industry. The reason why the financial services is considered to be very heavily regulated is because it has a huge responsible actors that basically are dealing with money. It focuses on maintaining the financial stability that is needed for the economical growth, either locally or internationally. And it also ensures the trust within the financial services system. It's a very delicate, very, as mentioned, heavily industry that needs a clear focus on the regulations and the regulations development. Now, within Saudi Arabia, as we speak now, we have three financial services regulators within the market. We first have the Saudi Central Bank, covering activities such as banking, finance, payments, and credit bureaus. We have the capital market authorities, covering activities such as securities activities, investment funds, debt and equity instruments. Now, by only last year, we had a third regulator of the financial industry known as the Insurance Authority. So insurance used to be under the Saudi Central Bank, and now it's moved under its own authority, which is called the Insurance Authority. Now, I would love to give a quick overview of how the regulations used to be developed. Regulations used to be the regulations development within the financial industries basically started by drafting the regulations of the activities that are within the market. Then these regulations will be released to the market, and then the regulators will just keep monitoring the compliance of those regulations among the players within the market. Now, nowadays, such way of writing regulations does not work anymore. Why it doesn't work anymore? For multiple reasons. First, it may not consider the new business models and innovations. We are seeing more innovations coming within the financial industries. The technology is changing so fast, and technology is more than ever now is being connected to the financial industry. So by the time the regulations are released within the market, the technology have actually moved away. So it's like the regulations development is just keep following the development and the changing of technologies. And basically, sometimes these regulations may not cover all the risk, especially the risks that are related to technology, such as cybersecurity risk, cloud computer risk, and everything related to technology. Now, how did the technology change the financial industry? Basically, when technology got connected to the financial industry, and now we have it's called as Fintech, it changed it to make it faster, to make it more customized, and to make it much cheaper. So we can see more than ever now the Fintech services or the financial services that are getting connected or developed by technology are being much faster, much more customized, and actually at a lower cost within the market. So when technology started to be integrated within the financial industry, the financial industry regulators started to look at the concept of the sandbox. Now, the sandbox or the testing environment is basically a concept or an environment that used to be used by the tech services or the technology companies. What they usually used to do is basically before launching their services to the market, the tech companies would take an MVP of their services. They would test it within this environment that is called the sandbox to check if this solution is actually good to be used within the market or not, if it's actually valuable to the market or not, instead of just launching it to the market and spending a lot of money on that product. Now, the regulators started to adapt to that concept to develop the regulations related to fintech. So it is now called the regulatory testing environment. And thankfully, within Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Central Bank and the Capital Market Authority were one of the first regulators parties around the world to actually adapt to using such testing environments. Now, why do regulators use these testing environments? Basically, as mentioned, it's a live testing environment with the real customers that use the actual fintech solution within this closed environment. However, this environment is very restricted on the fintech activities, such as, or for example, the restrictions could be on the number of transactions, the cap of transaction, the number of customers who are actually using these solutions. So it's just the enough number of transactions, the enough number of customers to actually test that solution within the market. And it's open to any activities that should be regulated under the regulators. For example, we now have the open banking under SAMA testing environment being tested. And multiple players or multiple fintech players do access and get accepted within that testing environment to basically test their solutions. And it supports the fintechs players to validate their ideas, validate their solutions, and support the regulators themselves to evaluate these activities and to actually develop the regulations. So instead of having the technology moving so fast and the regulation development is moving so slow, we through the testing environments, we have them both being developed basically on a similar base. Now, when we touch on the regulatory testing environments within the Saudi market, we have this journey. As mentioned, we have SAMA, Regulatory Sandbox, we have CMA, Fintech Lab. Basically, the fintechs, they develop their application, they check which activity they want to apply to, they have to develop some documentations, and then they apply to the sandbox. Once they apply, both regulators, either if the fintech is applying to the SAMA regulatory sandbox or to the CMA Fintech Lab, their application will be evaluated. Once they get accepted under the testing environment, these solutions will be tested as use cases for the regulators to start drafting and releasing the regulations. Now, once these regulations are fully developed and ready to be released to the market, those fintechs graduate from the testing environment and have a period of moving from being under the testing environment to being fully operational within the market. Then the same testing environment will be used again to other activities. For example, we currently have it for the open banking. Later on, it could also be used for the buy now, or previously it was used for the buy now, pay later, and different cases for different activities that we need to develop the regulations for. Now, as mentioned, we have for the Saudi Central Bank, we have two main testing environments within the market. We have the Saudi Central Bank regulating activities such as banking, finance, payment, and credit bureaus. And we have the Capital Market Authority for investment funds, debt and equity instruments, and securities activities. Now, for the regulatory sandbox for SAMA, we have two areas. We have activities that are still under the testing, such as the Digital Saving Association, such as the open banking, such as the peer-to-peer lending. And we have activities that have actually got its regulation out from the sandbox. For example, as mentioned, the buy now, pay later, which basically, I believe a solution everyone is familiar with solutions within the market like Tabi, like Tamara. They used to be under the testing environment of SAMA, and then the regulations got developed, and now it is under the licensing, so fintechs can directly apply to obtain that license. Now, when we check about how fintechs can apply to the testing environment of the Saudi Central Bank, they can apply all the year around, and the evaluation of their applications to apply, it's also open all year round. Now, when we check on the Capital Market Authority, we do still, as mentioned, have activities that are still under testing, and we do have activities who got its regulations out. For example, we have the micro sukuk, we have the robo advisory still under the testing, and we have the equity crowdfunding as a regulation. And when we check about the application process. As a fintech, I can apply all year around. However, my application evaluation is on a cohort basis. So if I were a fintech with an equity crowdfunding business model, I would directly apply to obtain the license of the equity crowdfunding from the CMA. And if I were a fintech with an open banking solution, I would apply to the regulatory sandbox within SAMA. So it's based on my solution. It's either I apply to enter the testing environment or I apply directly to obtain the license. Now, the fintech innovations basically falls under 5 pockets, the development of the fintech solutions. First, we have let's say solutions that does not need to be regulated. So not every fintech solutions needs to go through SAMA or CMA. Not every fintech solution need to obtain a license or a permit to operate under those testing environments. If I had a business tool solution, if I had a RegTech, a regulation technology solution, or a reward-based crowdfunding solution, I wouldn't need to go through either SAMA or CMA to start operating within the market. So this is the first pocket that we have, which is activities that does not need to be regulated within or from the regulators. Then, as mentioned, we have activities that are implicitly or explicitly under the regulations of CMA, such as crowdfunding, robo, and robo advisories. If I'm going to give an example of both pockets for activities that does not need to be regulated, if we checked on the RegTech, we have a fintech company called Muzan. If we're going to check on activities under the CMA, we have a company called Sukuk, or we have Safqa Capital, or we have Jana Financials. All of these fintech solutions are regulated under the CMA. Now, we have activities that are mainly regulated under SAMA, which is the e-wallet payment, the buy now, pay later, the debt crowdfunding. It's mentioned here InsurTech. However, that's a mistake. InsurTech is now under the insurance authority. For example, we have companies like Tabi, Tamara, as I mentioned before. We have like Mala'a, Daraham, who are operating under the open banking activities. And we also have the payment processing, which can be certified under SAMA payment. For example, like Apple Pay solution and other payment solutions or payment processing solutions can just obtain a certificate from SAMA. Now, we do also have activities that are prohibited to operate within the Saudi market, such as the cryptocurrency trading. It's one of the main activities that are prohibited within the fintech ecosystem and the fintech industry in Saudi Arabia. Now, if I were a fintech company, whether I don't need to be regulated, or if I were regulated under SAMA or CMA, there are main key regulations that I would need and I must take under consideration. The simple one and the basic one is to have a commercial registration. It's not just for fintechs, it's for any company that operates within the Saudi markets. That company needs to have a commercial registration. If I were a fintech company, I would need to also comply with the regulations that is related to the data storaging on the cloud computing, on the cybersecurity, on the anti-money laundering, the AML, and the counter-financing of terrorism. The CFT, I would also need to comply with processing payments through Mada solution, and to also comply with any other fit and proper rules related to either my activity or the license that I need to apply to, or the testing environment or the activity that I'm applying to under the testing environment. Now, there are multiple regulators and government authorities that do regulate within the markets for different activities, but they are also related to fintech. For example, we have the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology, MCIT. We have, for example, SADAYA. For example, SADAYA do have regulations regarding the customer privacy, the customer information privacy. We have Munshaat, who basically supports the whole entrepreneurial ecosystem through different programs and different initiatives. The Ministry of Commerce, the National Cybersecurity Authority, which basically focuses on regulations related to cybersecurity. And we do have the Ministry of Investment of Saudi Arabia, who, if I'm going to talk about it related, if I'm going to make it related to fintech, I'm going to say it would be mostly beneficial for the international fintechs who wants to operate within the Saudi market. Now, let's say I'm an international fintech that wants to start to operate or to enter within the Saudi market. From a regulation point of view, I have different options to operate within the market. I can either establish a subsidiary of my own existing fintech company within the Saudi market. I can start a new fintech company, but I would first have to obtain a MISA, which is the Ministry of Investment Entrepreneurship license. Or let's say I don't want to go through the whole journey of being regulated or obtaining a license or a permit within the regulators. I can either license my technology or my solution to a Saudi-based startup who can utilize that technology, or I can basically appoint an entity as a sales agent to resell my technology to either banks or to other fintech solutions. I will leave you today with two main resources. These two resources is basically the Fintech Access Guide and the Regulatory Assessment Tool. Now, the Fintech Access Guide is basically gives you a very comprehensive overview of the fintech regulations within the Saudi market. Who are the main regulators? What are the activities that they regulate? What are the options for me as a fintech, either local or international, to operate within the Saudi market? Or if I was a fintech enthusiast who just wanted to develop a fintech solution, how would I do that? The Fintech Access Guide is a very helpful source to support you with that. Second is the amazing tool that was developed by Fintech Saudi team, which is the Fintech Regulatory Assessment Tool. It's a tool that within 2 to 3 minutes, it pop up some questions to you. You have to answer these questions. Once you answer these questions, it will tell you that based on your activities and based on the technologies that you use and based on your development stage, whether you're at the idea, pre-commercial, or a commercial stage, which of the regulators you are regulated under, which license or activity are you part of, and what is your journey to obtain or to start operating within the fintech industry in Saudi Arabia. Or it can tell you that, you know what, your activity does not need to be regulated. You can proceed and operate within the market. Now, the main reason that I had this presentation very quick is because I wanted to open the room for the Q&A. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about the fintech regulations within Saudi Arabia.
Thank you very much, Munira, for a really informative presentation. Really, and we've got a lot of great comments here about how simple it was, how easy it was to follow. So thank you so much for preparing that. We do have quite a few questions, and please keep the questions coming in, and we'll try and answer as many as we can. If we just start from the top, what do you think are the biggest challenges that fintechs are facing when it comes to regulation?
So actually sitting with startups and listening to fintechs, basically what the main challenge I would say within the regulations is to basically understand the regulations itself first, and second, to understand what is their time frame to prepare themselves and to develop their activities to obtain the license. Basically, as a startup or as an entrepreneur, they come with a very excited mindset. They want everything to move so fast. They want to obtain the license. They want to operate within the market quickly, because we all, as if I were an entrepreneur, I would have the mindset that if I did not start operating within the market now, I would just lose my chance, which is basically not true. But they do face a challenge in understanding the regulations and what are the regulatory requirements that they need to develop within their fintech solution, within their company, to obtain the license. This is one. Second, some of them do miss that there are also technology requirements related to the regulation. So it's not just a matter of how you develop your solution or how you deliver your solution to the market, but it's also about how you use the right technology and how you follow on the regulations of these technologies to operate within the markets. So it's basically understanding the regulations itself and how to navigate through that, especially if they have a solution that can cover or be under different regulators. So for example, I could have an activity that is regulated either under both SAMA and CMA. This usually will be a much challenging journey for me. Navigating through the regulations and understanding the technology requirements within the regulations, I would say, is the main two challenges for them as fintechs.
Thanks, Munira. And actually, a great follow-on question here we've got is about the Fintech Saudi Accelerator Program. So given that you lead the Fintech Saudi Accelerator Program, could you give a bit of details about why that was set up, what challenges it solves, and how, if anybody's interested, can participate in that?
Yeah. So basically, when we started the Fintech Accelerator, we started the accelerator to just focus on supporting the early stage fintechs to develop their ideas into a very valid business model. Now, when we went through that journey with the fintechs, we have noticed that fintechs do actually face a challenge when with understanding the regulations and navigating through the regulations. So we went a further step and redesigned the program to have a program called the Regulatory Accelerator Program. Usually accelerators focuses only on the business development or connecting entrepreneurs and startups with investors, with business developers. However, what's different about this accelerator, it only focuses on the regulations. So it's a regulatory focused accelerator that within 3 months a program, it takes the fintech companies on a step-by-step journey. It connects them with legal counselors, legal advisories. It connects them with the regulators themselves to prepare their applications to submit by the end of the program, their applications to either obtain a license or to be permitted within the testing environment. So I believe this is what makes it unique, is that it only focuses on the regulation journey for the fintechs.
Thanks, Peter. And if we were to talk about the process of applying, so how long does it typically take for a fintech to apply? What is the cost involved for a fintech to apply for a license or to the regulatory sandbox or fintech lab?
So actually, I would say it differ. So how long does it take? It's basically, I would say about how much you're ready. So some fintechs takes. I've seen an example where a fintech graduated from a very early stage a fintech, sorry, an accelerator of one of our partners, then immediately went out and developed their applications, and now they're operating within the testing environment. However, we see other cases where fintechs do struggle and takes up to 2 years, maybe 3 years to obtain a license or to operate. So it's basically, I cannot say that there is a time frame, but it's about how much ready you are to actually apply. When it comes to the cost, again, it's basically depends on your business model, on the license that you're planning to obtain or to apply to, because different licenses do different have different caps to obtain that license or to be permitted within the sandbox.
I think, and just on that point, there isn't necessarily a fee to apply for the license, right? It's once you receive the license, there may be fees associated or minimum capital balances that you need to hold in order to maintain that license.
Exactly, 100%.
And then just, I guess another question here is around foreign ownership, but that would also depend on a case-by-case basis and a license-by-license basis as well, whether they can be foreign ownership or there needs to be local ownership as well.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, cool. A few questions here. A lot of questions on open banking, actually. A lot of interesting questions on open banking. So if I'm developing APIs, like the Lean and Taragut gateways, do I need to be regulated by the Saudi Central Bank? And if so, how does that regulation work?
So yes, they would need to be. They are regulated under the Saudi Central Bank. As far as I know, the open banking is still under the testing environments within the Saudi Central Bank. Fintechs can apply to that testing environments and the open banking lab to be regulated and to operate under the open banking lab of SAMA.
Okay, cool. And another question for Faisal is, to start open banking fintech company, do you have to go through the MISA program or is it a license? So MISA is only for international fintech companies, isn't that right?
Yes, exactly. So if I would go a slide back here, as mentioned, MISA is only for, if we're going to talk about it within the fintech context, it is to support international fintechs to operate within the Saudi markets. And one of those options to operate within the Saudi market as an international fintech is to obtain the MISA license, the entrepreneurship MISA license to operate within the Saudi market.
Okay, good. And just one other question on open banking, which we received is, can I access my own data from my bank account through open banking? Is that something which is allowed, or do I need to go through a regulated entity to do that?
Sorry, I couldn't understand the question.
So the question is, the question here is the user wants to be able to access their own bank account data directly from the bank. Can they do that through open banking, or do they need to go through a regulated third party? I'd assume you need to go through a regulated third party for that.
Yes, exactly. They would need to go through regulated third party through to get access to these data. For example, personally, I'm using solutions such as Mala'a, such as Dirham. They give you the option to access your data, to access your bank data through these solutions.
Great. Just looking for any other questions which we haven't covered. So question here, generally, if I'm looking to start a fintech solution today, I'm a new startup, I don't have the funds to go after lawyers and sort of apply right now, but I want to understand what are my options? What could I do right now just to be able to get some free sort of guidance on where I need to be regulated?
We'll just come to Fintech Saudi, as simple as that. Just to give يعني a more deep answer, we basically at Fintech Saudi do offer different programs to support entrepreneurs who are at the idea stage. It's called the Idea Accelerator Program. So if I would give you like a journey, a person who wants to start a fintech solution, I would say start with the Idea Accelerator Program because it will support you to validate your idea, to develop your business model, and to also be connected with partners, with mentors. And by the end of that program, you will have a ready-to-use pitch deck to investors. And maybe later on, you can also reach out to us to connect you with other solution developers, technology developers, and other tech services to support you to develop your solutions, or to also find the right talent or the right partner to work with you. And then at some maturity level, when you reach that level of maturity, I would say apply to the Fintech Accelerator that will support you to apply to a license or to the testing environments within the regulators.
I think the other thing to mention, to just add on to that, Manira, is the office hours as well, right? So do you want to just give a bit of details about the office hours we hold?
Yes, thank you, Sagar. So we do also have office hours. These office hours, it also supports any fintech, whether they were a local fintechs or international fintechs, to navigate through the fintech ecosystem of Saudi Arabia to understand what are my options to operate, how can I develop my solution, what challenges should I keep in mind moving forward, and also how can I actually, let's say, develop a solution that will basically serve the market.
Great, thank you. A few questions here on non-regulated fintech solutions. We touched upon this area, and we've been asked about reward-based crowdfunding, business tools. Could you give a few more examples of fintech solutions that are not regulated?
So from the top of my head, I do recall we have Muzen as a RegTech solution. We do have Rasmal as a business tool, fintech solution. If I'm not mistaken, we do also have the accounting-based fintech solutions such as, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sagar, such as Qiyut, such as My Fatura. I believe these are also considered to be non-regulated fintech solutions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think just to add on to that, what we see is a lot of companies, because regulations, say getting regulated can be long process, can be expensive process. Of course, you can't operate until you're regulated. We see a lot of companies looking to develop non-regulated solutions. So they'll go to market and provide, say, solutions for an SME around loyalty points, or they'll be looking at providing accounting software. But what they'll do is they'll build up their customer base, they'll have a good income flow coming through, and then they'll look to layer on regulated solutions. So they'll then apply, say, for example, you're an accounting software, and then you want to be involved in open banking, then you may want to apply to SAMA for open banking. But you do that after you've already got a good customer base. So that's just one way that entrepreneurs we've seen could think about is starting with a non-regulated activity and then moving towards something which is regulated later.
Exactly. So basically, it's like instead of having it as a one direct journey to being regulated, they just divide their journey into two seasons. Season one is to operate within the market as a non-regulated activity. Season two is basically go to the route of the regulation. It's like a video game seasons.
A very good analogy. A question on the Fintech Accelerator. When are we launching the Fintech Accelerator?
So we expect to launch the Fintech Accelerator by Q4 this year. Both accelerators, actually, the Idea Accelerator and the Fintech Accelerator. The application will start by Q4 this year. So once, if any fintech is interested, just basically follow us on the social media or subscribe to our newsletter so you can immediately receive the announcement of the application being opened to apply to these programs.
Excellent, thank you. I think we've covered most of the questions which we've had around regulation. So thank you, Munira, for answering all of them. The last question we normally ask is, if somebody wants to learn more about this, we'll of course share the slides with them and the recording of this session. But what else could they be looking at? You mentioned a few resources there, which we might want to just highlight again.
So I'll honestly talk about my journey, Sagar, when I started learning about the regulations within the fintech ecosystem. I started by knowing nothing about the regulations within the fintech ecosystem. What I basically did is I started learning first about the different fintech activities. So what I would do is I would go to the fintech map that we usually release as Fintech Saudi. I see the different activities. I read about these activities. I see some of the solutions. I do try to use them by myself to just basically understand these activities from a customer point of view. Then the next stage that I did is I went through the Fintech Access Guide. I used the Fintech Access Guide. I divided it into multiple sections. The first section, I read it. I tried to navigate through the Fintech Access Guide through different regulations. Basically, the main source that actually supported me to understand about regulations was the Fintech Access Guide. And I'm not saying it's the best because we did it, but it's actually the best. And it's very simple. It's very easy to read. One extra thing I would actually recommend to anyone who wants to learn about the fintech regulations is to attend meetups, attend events. You have a huge opportunity to learn about fintech in general and the fintech regulations next week through 24 Fintech. There will be a lot of the main regulators will be exhibiting there. There will be a lot of panel discussions, keynote speech talking about the fintech regulations, the trends on fintechs. So I would encourage everyone to at least attend the event. Start by wondering, developing your questions. Then it's like a thread that you follow to find the right answer. Second, of course, if I had a fintech solution, I would, I'm not gonna say play around, but actually play around with the assessment tool, because it does support to understand what are the different technologies and the different fintech activities, and which activity and which technologies are regulated under which regulator. So that was basically my journey. I'm still developing, I'm still learning about the fintech regulations, and it's a very exciting journey, to be honest.
Thank you very much, Munira. I really appreciate your time and really appreciate your guidance. We will share these links in the Telegram group as well. So if you miss them here and you can't get the QR code, we will share the links and the link to this presentation as well for any questions that you have. Munira, like the Fintech Saudi team, will be at 24 Fintech next week. So if you'd like to meet her and ask any other questions, please do attend and visit us at the Fintech Saudi booth. Just a few final points from our side then, given this is the last session for Fintech Summer Sessions this year. We will be running this again next year. After Fintech Summer Sessions is finished, you will receive a feedback form. And it's really important that you give us the feedback in there and also suggest what else you'd like to hear from us as well. We've got a great group here. We've got a great following, which means we can attract some really good speakers. It's really important to hear from yourselves what you'd like to cover in 2025 Fintech Summer Session season. A few more questions on certificates. So you might have missed my comments at the beginning, but the certificates will be released by the 3rd week of September. So don't worry, don't panic. You will get your certificate. We're very bit busy with 24 Fintech right now. After that finishes, by the 3rd week of September, you will receive your certificate. If you don't receive it, there will be a process in which you can apply so you can get your certificate for that. The essay, I think essay finalists are being finalized at the moment. They'll be going out, they'll be getting their rewards. So congratulations if you manage to become a finalist for the 24 FinTech Thought Leadership. We know that the judging group have been involved in evaluating all the essays, and the winners will be announced at 24 FinTech. So do join us for that as well. I think that's all I had to say. Kareem, have I missed anything? I think Kareem might be on mute. But look, I think that's all we've got for FinTech Summer Sessions 24. Thank you so much for everyone who's joined us over the last 10 weeks and given us questions and your comments. It's been really valuable. It's really pushed us in terms of energy. The only last things I wanted to do was firstly thank Kareem for his moderation. He's been a superstar in this session, he's been supporting us all the way. And if you want to get a picture with him, do come to 24 FinTech. I know he's going to be standing at the booth and he's open for taking pictures with anyone who joins us over there. And the final thing I'd like to say is a special thank you to Lena. You haven't met Lena, but if you come to 24 FinTech, you will meet Lena. She has been in the background and she's organized everything to do with FinTech Summer Sessions. Makes our lives super easy. So do come to 24 FinTech. Do come say thank you to her if you appreciate her efforts as well. That's all I had. Kareem, Lena, anything else to add?
I want to personally thank all the participants. It's been such a great summer sessions, and we look forward to next year. And obviously, thanks to the whole team for a great summer session.
Thank you, team, for your great session, and thank you, everyone, for joining.
Great. Thank you, everyone. See you next summer. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.